Welcome back to War Thunder and welcome to the mass test of naval forces. Today I want to show you 3 of the 5 nations that were available. All nations except the Italians. And we will begin with the Japanese patrol boat. And many people say that, patrol boats have no chance against destroyers. I kind of disagree. I actually can tell you right away that depending on the map design, small boats have their place, and I think Fiji is a wonderful first try. There is room for improvement, of course, but overall, for one of the early maps, there is nothing to really complain about. And I'm hunting here destroyers, so I had the initial fought against other patrol boats, and I'm just, throwing the torpedoes around. Now this is arcade mode, and I tried out both modes. I have to say, arcade is fast, it's fun, and it gets the results more than in realistic. To get off one big thing in the beginning, there is not too much time for testing. For me personally, overall, it's not possible to get into custom battles and try things out. I did not spend too much time trying to set up my key bindings, although it's very important. And there is much to learn for all of us. And when you go back to tanks, I think there was a long but also successful way to get tanks to where they are now. And tanks are actually pretty good when it comes to mechanics. The mechanics themselves might not be the most reliable in any given moment, but strange things the torpedo is doing, right? But the beautiful. But, for ships that are still in the beta and they need the feedback. Now, I said that I will not go too much into forums because I'm not really convinced of it. However, if you're a fan of it, just use it and give Gaijin the feedback that they need. And the next time that you give a comment, please be not salty, but give your honest feedback, and when you're calm and when you just make a sober comment about the things that you think are okay, because it's all important, because Gaijin most of the time hears nothing but critic and negative things. They also need to hear, hey, that's a good thing, and maybe this could be a bit improved, but it's alright at the moment. Things like that. With that, I guess developers can work. But back to the gameplay here. I love this maneuverable ship. I just love patrol boats that have a place, and when destroyers are fighting other big ships in War Thunder terms, so other destroyers, then they can sneak up the islands. There are channels that you can ambush your enemies, and when you have a boat with 4 torpedoes, you can actually produce a small torpedo pattern or a curtain, and where you then can catch some of the enemy big fish. In this case, I think we need bigger ships for bigger targets. Yeah, that's the first battle. Then there's the second one with the Z-20. And if I would make a video just about this ship for this particular battle, I would call it Get Deep into the Guts, or punch into the guts. Oh, Napalmratte explosions. As juicy as in tanks, isn't it? Yeah, a bit more difficult to get. Now, Napalmratte seem to not explode with the first shot, which is a good thing. And we need to learn a bit more about how it works with destroyers, how detailed the hit camera is, what APHE shells do in particular, because at the moment all AP or APHE shells look like they are performing like solid shots. Seems like the armor is not thick enough on any kind of APHE shot to activate it. Now on the ice fields with the MZ1 or things like that, we saw how awesome APHE shells can work when they interact with armor and the fuse actually goes off. With destroyers we have much bigger shells, so you can count on them like acting like Jagdtiger shells in terms of raw damage. And then I guess if the fuses would go off, or maybe I'm just misinterpreting the hit cam, then the damage would be a bit different. There are advantages and disadvantages of APHE shells compared to simple AP shots. AP shots can go through the entirety of a ship, whereas APHE shots travel a certain distance or time through the ship after the fuse got activated, and then they explode. So anything that is beyond their reach, so to speak, does not get damaged. What I really like about the arcade mode is the accuracy and the faster hit ratio. The matches are not as frustrating as they are in RB, if I might say it so. That's my personal opinion. It just comes from maybe a few dozen games played. We are not researching anything yet, as that there are no tech trees yet, so it's a bit different. So what is new about this test? Well, to be honest, not too much, except that all nations are having their destroyers, their planes, and their patrol boats, which is good. The only thing that I really miss is the AP shot on the Japanese destroyer, but you know, details. I mean, it's all subject to change. It's still pre-closed beta for me, and yeah, I think it's worth noting that it was fun. It was fun. It was not absurdly frustrating. It was not absurdly easy. It was challenging, but at the same time rewarding from the gameplay feel. And I think this is what, next to game mechanics, or together with game mechanics, Gaijin has to look for. But for all intents and purposes, I give this test here for the first few battles that I played a thumbs up. And if you want, you could have applied for access, I guess, even without well, that's close, even without having purchased one of the packages. There is a huge list of people that got an invite from Gaijin, and so the matchmaker had an easier time, so to speak, pushing out the matches. One thing that I used today for the first time was later on the airburst shell on the Fletcher. Not against air targets though, let me tell you that. And not against destroyers, so there's not much left to guess, and you have already an idea of what I was about to say. Patrol ships. The absurd thing is that you do not even have to properly aim to knock out a patrol ship with the proximity fuse. If you ask me, as far as I can recall it, the proximity fuse was a thing in the Second World War. For the Americans, it was highly effective compared to normal airburst or flak rounds. But it's kind of absurd how effective they are against patrol boats. Now, to be honest, they are also then realistic, because the crew on a patrol boat is mostly open topped. Oh, that was beautiful. I think I go into a 1 versus 4 fight here. Or it was a 1 versus 4, now it's a 1 versus 3. Good hits right here into the destroyer's flank. I'm switching target here. I receive heavy damage, but they don't knock out my guns, which is a bit of a problem for them. I tried to hit the Amrax, and you have to actually point your aiming reticle deep into the water. The aiming system in arcade is much more intuitive than it is in realistic. I think in realistic it's unnecessarily realistic, and it's deeply frustrating when you just have, when something is right in front of you but you can't hit it. Yeah. So it's now 1 versus 1 after I destroyed at least 3 destroyers already, and you know, I'm shooting like with the help of the hit camera to know where the ammo rack of every destroyer type is. Usually it's below the front guns and the rear guns, so that's a rule of thumb. But how deep they are in the guts and how damaged they are, and if you damage them at all, that's a thing that you have to work together with the hit camera. Overall, the graphics are stunning, the sound design is not bad at all, the game mechanics are working, at least those who are already in the game. Of course, you have to, you know, make it more polished, but I think the right way is there. When we look at the map size and the map design, of course, this is a purely artificial map, as we also will see in the next match with the Fletcher. And the Fletcher is a fantastic ship. And yeah, today I'm fighting another German YouTuber, Implete or Implied or whatever you want to call him, or I think he's calling himself Implete, so it's his name, so let's call it Implete. Implete was the second YouTuber that featured a replay of mine. The first one was Jingles with the 82 Sky Raider. I think the video now has over 113,000 views, you know, in one video. And it brought me into RRB because I had such a really great battle in the 82 Sky Raider, which is a plane that would be completely overpowered in this mode thanks to its 12 rockets. And yeah, the next one was Implete with the 100. The same game was then featured by myself on my own channel, which you're watching right now, if you didn't notice. And okay, that one was bad. And you know, he did a fine job of, you know, interpreting my movements and my actions. So when he drowned himself in his Yak 9T, I thought I had to face him. And I'm not directly going for him, but I'm, you know, approaching B and trying to defend it, because he is heading straight for it. Yeah, the torpedo prediction line is going wild at the moment. And watch this, watch this. Those are AP shots. I'm reloading the HE airburst rounds, and I'm not even really hitting, and yet the shrapnels destroy the entire ship by hull break. I'm not quite sure if that is overkill. If hull break should be that kind of thing. You know, Gaijin needs to give out a very detailed explanation how hull break on ships work, because it works on patrol boats but also destroyers alike, but just under certain circumstances, and I can't really reproduce the same effects with the same shooting and so on, except for Ramrax, of course. It's a bit of a problem. But again, this is an issue that we had with the tanks as well. remember the times where we had no kill cam, where we had no hit cam, where the ammunition is stored was a big mystery. How MRAX worked, how the crew system worked was all a big mystery. And one of the best implementations from Gaijin is the simple hit cam. It's very simple, and yet this is the way that I learn how tanks work, together with dev blogs and statements from Gaijin. That is just the way that I learn, with the hit cam, and that's the dirty little secret that I have when it comes to playing War Thunder and learning from it. Not the very same thing for aircraft though, but aircraft are very intuitive. You have certain key components, like a wing, like a pilot. If a plane loses one such thing, it's not a good thing. You know the drill. With tanks, you can pump the same amount of ammunition on the same spot and have no effect at all. Every British tanker that has side shots on a German tank and doesn't hit the MRAC can tell you quite a story. With APHE it's a different story, but APHE, again, to go back, and now I'm fighting actually Implete, sorry, is a different story. I'm trying to hit this MRAC, but the shells just won't go where I aim them. So I'm unleashing the torpedo tsunami and hope for the best. But my most important tool are the guns, of course. The Fletcher has 5 fantastic guns. They turn quickly, they are very fast firing. The shells are not as fast as from the German, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, and that's it. So I'm peppering him. I have knocked out his propulsion, his smoke funnel, one of his main guns, and finally I initiate hull break. I have no idea how I did it, but watch this. Watch this. I reload AP. Boom! And there the shell went off and detonated the one. And I reload the flak rounds. Boom! And then here comes the torpedoes. And a bad thing that I'm not moving, so I can't do evasive actions at all. And I'm just about to repair it, and this torpedo is going close. Yeah, torpedoes don't bounce. Yeah, and that's the battle for me. So it was really nice to fight with the Fletcher, with the Z-20 or the Z-20 in German, and also the Japanese ship. They are very interesting to play. Each has its own playstyle. Some ships are better off fighting in the open, especially I'd say the Russian destroyer, and the Japanese is better in retreating scenarios. You know, every ship has its own advantages and disadvantages, and the combination of those make up the ship itself. Now I am here in the Corsair, the FOU-1C, and that has also quite a history. Very briefly, I hated it in arcade when it had the broken flight model, no energy retention, the firepower was not that impressive, although now it gets the result. It had no maneuverability at all, it was like a medium bomber. Then the flight model change came and I actually didn't bother flying it. It's one of the first American planes that ever had a huge amount of cannons, excluding here of course the P-38s. I'm just talking too much about planes, ain't I? And the thing was, I never played it too often. I think the other ones were favorites of mine in RB, I guess, when they worked, especially the Japanese one. Oh, I love it. Clubbing Americans with their own medicine is quite nice. Then, you know, I think for ships, It has no rockets, no bombs, but a lot of ammunition. If I remember correctly, over 900 rounds, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, I'm attacking in fleet here again. Waiting here a bit to AAA and aiming for the turrets. My aim is not the best, but I get the shots in and damage him very lightly. So that's it with the mass test. I really like it. I hope you can try it out this weekend. It's fun, it's entertaining, and I think there is nothing more to mention here. Just one thing, this is how the post-battle result screen looks. It's nothing particular. We are not researching anything, but I was not too bad, if I may say so myself. That's it for me today. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you enjoyed this slight look into the pre-close beta again. I'm not quite sure if it's pre-close beta still because of the mass test. That's up for discussion. Anyways, that's it for me today. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. I hope you will give this video a like. If you did, subscribe if you want to see more. And we will see each other not just in the skies and not just on the battlefields, but also on the waves of the beautiful seas of War Thunder.